Jack. This is a friendly celebration.
I don't much like the way you celebrate.
The winter bit to the bone. The army reached Valley Forge with more courage than coats, more hunger than bread. George rode the lines, counted what was missing: food, cloth, medicine, and spirit. The army encamped at Valley Forge to watch British-held Philadelphia and shield the interior. 20 miles out, on high ground above the Schuylkill, the position commanded key fords and roads, with timber and water near. Here they could winter, refit, and drill to standardize discipline. In those first days, George warned Congress that without a great change, the army would starve, dissolve, or disperse. So Valley Forge had to do more than keep men alive. It had to rebuild the army, refit ragged companies, put every regiment under one system of drill, and turn a patchwork of units into a disciplined force that could stand as one. January bled the army by the book. Men whose time was up folded their coats and went.
We have to go now. Kill the light.
Then came the quiet leaving. By spring, desertion ran hottest. The lines thinned, even as the need grew. I came about the 1st of February. If I could not feed a regiment, I could stitch one sleeve. The women mended, visited the sick, kept small observances, reminding the men they still belonged to a household called country. During the winter, some officers and members of Congress exchanged letters attacking George's leadership. General Thomas Conway and his allies argued he should be replaced. A faction in Congress and beyond thought to replace him while the men starved. That was the second enemy, the one within. The general did more than endure. He took action, pressing Congress and the states so the cause would not die for want of supplies. He backed Nathaniel Greene, the quartermaster general. Congress appointed him in March. And soon, wagons returned to the roads, bringing enough supplies for the men to train properly. Then came Baron von Steuben.
I'm here to train soldiers. Let me know when any get here.
Brisk and blunt, a providence in a blue coat. He carved order from misery.
Rücken gerade! You march like women to market!
Surprising how quickly they fell in line for a foreigner. He took an army of mismatched companies, each drilling its own way, and turned it into a unified force that could form line, wheel, fire volleys on command, and close with bayonet. But he wasn't the only foreigner who helped in the months to come. We also had a young French Marquis, Lafayette, eager and brave. The Board of War dangled bright commands, even schemes far from camp, to pull him from the general's side. He chose fidelity. In a winter of shortages, loyalty was the rarest supply. General Conway and his allies set ink against him, hoping to remove George from his command and replace him with General Gates. But for the men round the fires, the test was simple. Who suffered the harsh winter with them? The Conway cabal melted with the snow. George's command did not. You could see the change. Even with fewer in the ranks, the lines held better.
Make ready. Take aim.
Fire!
Steuben's drills stitched what the winter had torn. A British noose drew tight near our camp. Lafayette slipped it clean.
Codify in the rear. March!
His men moving with the steadiness we had prayed for. That was not luck I heard returning to the lines. It was practice made courage. On the 6th of May, the muskets spoke for France. A feu de joie ran the length of the Grand Parade, volley answering volley like a river of sound. For the first time that season, cheer rode farther than smoke. We were still thin, still grieving, but no longer the same. The suffering had tested our vow. Reform steadied our hand. Discipline gave it purpose. By mid-June, the huts stood empty behind us. Wagons creaked, ranks stepped off. The army that marched from Valley Forge was not the army that entered it. Fewer, yes, but firmer. They tried to take his command with paper. Hunger and cold tried to take it with silence. He answered with supply and discipline, and 1,000 boots striking as one. I came to keep George standing. I watched the general titanation howl.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, Paul.
Hey, Don.
How are you?
I'm just fine. You get another bobo on your head there?
No, that's the same one. I'm not wearing any makeup tonight.
I see. Okay, you got to quit talking back to Patty. That's all there is
I
to
know.
it.
I'm healing, so I decided I would just go without the
Au naturel.
water tonight. Yeah, au natural. So how was your Veterans Day?
I was quiet. I didn't do too much. Had lunch with a Marine buddy of mine, and he bought, which made it really good.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
You know, and but other than that, I didn't do any of the parades or go anywhere and do anything. Just
No, I didn't either. We went out to Outback. I got a free dinner from Outback here in the villages. So and that was nice.
yes, free is good.
Yeah, free's good. Had a steak too, huh?
Wow,
Yeah.
I got little lamb meatballs at a Turkish restaurant, but it was good. It was good.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, yeah, I was going to tell you, a guy that worked with me at Motorola, not at Motorola, at Amarado when I worked in the oil business many years ago, came to work one day with just a knot on right in the center of his forehead with a little vertical cut in it. And one of his friends said, "Where did Patty Ann get such a small hatchet?"
Let him have it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it wasn't anything like that. It was just my clumsiness and falling face first on the cement. Luckily, I didn't break anything or hit my teeth or, just hit
Yeah.
my cheek. Yeah.
There was an article on the internet this morning that John Fetterman fell.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess he got messed up pretty good. He went to the hospital.
Well, they said it was a ventricular fibrillation related lightheadedness. So,
Oh, okay. So maybe he had a concussion.
the AFib or whatever it was, defib occurred and made him dizzy, and that's when he fell down.
Mm.
So,
Oh, okay. I see. Cause and effect, right?
Yep. Yeah. I'm finding that I was talking to an older gentleman myself the other day, and we were talking about how we kind of start weaving a little bit when we walk, and rugs get to seem to like they're 4 inches high and all that kind of stuff. And I said, it's just that as your gyros get older, they just don't spin up as fast as they used to.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Sometimes the other day I was getting out of my love seat and I just turned too quick to the right, and all of a sudden I was on my knees instead of on my feet.
Yeah. It doesn't take much.
Yeah. So
it seems like they've increased gravity since I passed 70.
I think that's it, right? We need to go to the moon.
Yeah.
We would be good on the moon. Maybe they need to send seniors to the moon, right? That's a good idea.
I'm going to send the Democrats to Mars.
Or somewhere. I don't want them that close. Send them to Jupiter or Saturn, man. That'd be a long ways away. Oh, here's Ken. Mr. Bennett's coming on. What time is it? Oh, it's 5:29. I'm a little bit late. Hello, Ken Bennett.
Hi, Don. Hi, Paul.
Hey, Ken. How you doing?
How are you, sir?
Good. I'm doing great.
So Paul and I were talking about the what should we call it, Paul? How would you describe it? The
old age.
Yeah. Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah. Balance and tripping on tall rugs and how we struggle through those things now. And I said, maybe we need to go to the moon where we have less gravity.
Oh.
We would walk better. So send all the seniors up to the moon. Yeah.
I don't even at younger ages, and I'm getting towards the older side, but years ago I became aware of how small the clearances that we have when we're walking and doing things. I mean, we lift up our feet, and if you change to a pair of shoes that's got a 1/4 inch difference in the sole, or if you're walking over something and you're used to it being at a certain height, and now suddenly it's a 1/4 inch different higher.
Yeah.
We don't clear things by much when we're walking and moving and things like that. And the slightest difference can get you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we were talking about this because 2 weeks ago Sunday, a curb in front of our church got me, and that's why I have this. My black eye is almost gone away now, but I landed on my cheek, on my face, on the cement.
Oh, wow.
And caught myself with my hands and my knees, of course, and was totally embarrassed. And everybody in the church came running out to help, which was kind of nice, but had the nurse check me out. But it's crazy now. You just have to really be careful and use those handicap ramps become, they're not just for handicap, they're for all of us.
Yeah.
We all need those things. So listen, before we start, Ken, I want you to know I listened to your radio show Tuesday morning.
Oh, with
I was
the French?
fascinated. Yeah, I was fascinated. And you did such a wonderful job interviewing that guy. And I'll introduce it a little bit. Ken interviewed a man 102 years old. He was in the French Resistance in World War II. And Ken, I think you did such a great job helping him tell his story. You even got things out of him that his grandson hadn't heard. So
his grandson was sitting right next to me. And one of the stories, as I realized what he was saying, and I repeated it so that the listeners could understand it, his grandson David said, "Wow, I've never heard that story."
Yeah. You just did a wonderful job. You're such a good interviewer. So you need to start thinking about another career now, maybe as a
It's never too late, Ken.
Thank you.
Good.
No, it was really good. It was great. So I'm going to put that link to that session on this video so people can go hear it. And there's no video, but you can hear the whole thing, and it's really good. So good job, Ken. So my first question is, what do you guys and welcome, Jeff. It's good to see you. You look
be back.
You look so smart with those new glasses.
Yeah. Oh yeah. These are like the lady glasses I had to use because I don't know where my other ones are.
Oh, they look good though. No, they're good.
Have you started the recording, Don?
Yeah, I've started. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks for the heads up. So I want to ask you first. Well, we wake up this morning. and the government shutdown is over. Any comments? I'd like to hear you all what you
Oh, I
think.
got a lot of comments.
Are we, the shutdown's over?
I-
What's going to happen on January 31st? Give me your predictions now. We got like a 60-day pause here, or something's going to happen. But are we still going to get rid of the filibuster? I see this morning or last night when Trump signed the bill, he said he wants to. He still insisted on getting rid of the filibuster. So he's still pushing for that. So
Well,
anyway, tell me what you guys think.
I'll rant on this a little bit.
All right, good. Rants are good.
I mean, look, the Democrats won, America lost. Look what's happened, okay? Trump has been in office almost 300 days, let's say, okay? We have wasted 45 days of that. That's almost 15% of his first year, which are supposed to be the most productive, because the Democrats are finding ways to sabotage or slow down his administration.
Is this the glass half? Is this the glass half full?
No, this is not. This is absolutely, this is, and what is even more disheartening that I get angry about, it's no mystery that everybody's going to get pay in arrears. Okay? So why were not the men and women that we elected to the lower house working daily, okay, to be in there and further the administration's cause, whether it's investigations or to figure out more areas to cut or, go to work for the American people rather than all of them being sent home because Mike Johnson had to summon them all back. What were they being done? What were they doing home anyway during this time? Why should they be getting paid during this time? And now, of course, they reconvene right before the holidays. And yes, it's true that oftentimes before the holidays, work gets done just so they can go home. We also know people's minds and attentions aren't necessarily on their work. They get distracted. And so I think this was a big emergency brake tactic that the Democrats used. And look, when I don't agree with Trump, I will say so. But the only reason, the only exception of why we shouldn't get rid of the filibuster is if we go to the Democrats and recommend making it the next amendment to the Constitution, to codify it in our Constitution. That is the only way I would not get rid of that rule. And if you do that, then I would say you could balance out the risks from today. Because the people who are against it are basically saying, oh, slow down, it's helped us for years in this. When you look at the stats of executive orders being signed, and the point is people blame the president, the executive branch for this. Well, no, if the legislative branch isn't doing its job, then the executive and judicial branches have to step up. And it's historically a fact that this filibuster is being weaponized more and more. And so the legislative branch is becoming less and less effective. And it's not just I'd call the nuclear option like the way they used to look at the filibuster back in the 1830s, 1840s, and 50s. It was very rare to filibuster things out of a vote. I mean, they did it, but it was not the rule. It's become the rule rather than the exception. This is absolutely not what the founders had in mind when they wanted the legislative branch to be the most powerful. So I think when you look at everything that's happened, it's been a total disaster for the Trump administration. It makes us look weak. And by the way, we're still going to have to do it when the Supreme Court comes back and says that Trump's tariffs executive orders are unconstitutional. So we're still going to have to do it.
So let me give a little bit of good news. I know that this CR that he signed last night had 3 of the 12 budget bills attached to it. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it had 3 of I know it had the Defense Department, the military, and a couple others.
Right. Yes, I did
And
hear that.
so that's that's a positive, because 3 of the 12 now they're working on the other 9, and I don't think they were home at all that time. I'm not sure about the Senate.
Well, the Senate, I think, was working, but I don't think the
yeah,
House
well, they were,
was.
yeah, they had Thune had them voting every day to,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
think the Senate was working, but I don't think the
yeah.
House was.
Anyway, yeah, so I know that's part of the CR, so that's part of the good news, and I don't know, I really don't look at it as the total. I say it's more. My opinion is it's 60-40. Nobody wins, but I would say it's like 60-40 in favor of the administration, only because the Democrats were so exposed in their arguments and the things they were claiming to. They started out claiming one thing and then
Well,
kept shifting
Don, I
to.
think they're exposed to those of us who are paying attention.
Oh yeah, sure.
But to the American people, to me, I think it just shows how incompetent our government is in the first place, and then that usually gets blamed on the party in power.
Yeah,
Now,
it's the
for
dark
those who are
side, definitely
paying,
the dark side of government. Yeah, yeah.
But
Ken,
Jeff, aren't you forgetting what Will Rogers told us? He said Americans can relax. Congress is in recess.
yeah. Well, look, I recognize that there's benefits to that, but there's benefits to that more when the Democrats are in power because we're trying to roll back regulations and bring the representation back to the people. And to me, it's just it's disheartening to see how we are unwilling to rule. I mean, look, there's so many lessons in history we could learn. You know what the Republican Congress did, after the Civil War, they took the bull by the horns and did what they needed to do. You know, if the president wasn't going to do it, they did it. In this case, you have a president that wants to do it. They were at odds with each other back in those days, and certainly they were willing to step up. I just think I'm just not impressed, and I think if anybody had half a brain in the Senate or the House, they would have been bringing up this constitutional amendment idea that, because I pretty much would bet my life on it that if the Democrats, the next time they have the executive and legislative branches, they're going to deep six the filibuster.
oh
And
yeah, yeah.
and so a constitutional amendment, if you're not, so right now, I bet you could get the Democrats to support a constitutional amendment to keep the 60-40 vote needed in the Senate to break a filibuster. And if you could do that, then I'd be okay. I'd be okay.
Right now I'm not convinced that they'll sign up for anything that the Republicans want to do. So it's going to be it's kicking and screaming time, and it's going to be interesting to see are they going to take a holiday break this year, right? I mean, it's really going to be interesting to me to see how much time they take off. Are they just going to take off those days, or are they going to take off these weeks that they always do every year? So
I'll bet you,
Johnson
Don,
says they're going to
they
work
will
as
be
hard as they
taking
can
off.
the next 60
Yeah,
days. So we'll see.
they're going to take off weeks, I'll guarantee you.
Yeah.
I
Ken,
mean,
Ken, what do you think?
Well, let me understand what Jeff was just saying. So, Jeff, you're saying that if there was a constitutional amendment that solidified the 60-40 cloture rule,
yes.
then you think that would protect the Republicans when they're in the minority event?
Yes.
At some point in the it swings back and forth, and at some point the Democrats are going to get controls of both houses and the presidency for a period of 2 years or 4 years or whatever. So you're saying if you protected the filibuster, as we call it. It's really the cloture rule. But if you
Right, that's
protected the
right.
filibuster in the Constitution, then it would
Yes,
protect both sides, and neither side could suddenly get rid of it and run over the other.
correct. And
Yeah.
you could even carve out more exceptions if you wanted. Like we're going to disallow the 40/60 rule on budgets, so the government doesn't shut down, or
Yeah.
we're going to exempt these things because we already have them exempt for certain things. But other than that, you you know, you make it a higher bar because we know that's going to happen at some point. There's been so many norms broken in the last 10 years, okay? And most of them by the Democrats, not all, but most, that it's going to happen. It's in the path of happening. And so, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, I am not a fan of the filibuster or the cloture rule. I think the Constitution set up certain things that said, requires a 2/3 vote to expel a member,
Right.
or requires, supermajorities to
Or,
do a few things.
right.
And we're obviously talking about Article 1, Section 5. And let me just read it.
Yep.
Each house may determine the rules of its proceedings, punish its members for disorderly behavior, and with the concurrence of 2/3, expel a member. And this is this is also where each house shall be the judge of the elections, returns, and qualifications of its own member, and a majority of each shall constitute a quorum to do business, and a smaller number may adjourn from day to day, and be authorized to compel the attendance of absent members. They shall keep a journal of its proceedings and from time to time publish the same. And neither house during sessions of Congress shall, without the consent of the other, adjourn for more than 3 days. So I just think that the Senate and the leadership of the Senate is shooting itself in the foot. We are such a divided country right now that I don't know that we are seldom going to have one party in control
60 to 40.
of 60
Yeah. Well, Ken,
members
this
of the
came
House.
up. Somebody asked me because I've been very strong on this on James T. Harris and my articles, and I've been on other things. And somebody asked me, well, would there be an instance where you might rescind what you're saying? And I said, yeah. If they proposed an amendment to the Constitution, then I'd back off. Now we know how hard that is to get, but at least you'd know it'd be fair play, right? But if you're saying what would I prefer to do, right? And I agree with you, is to get rid of it now.
Yeah.
But if there was one option, it would be if there was an amendment to the Constitution, it would make sense keeping. I mean, it could make. I mean, I would say that's fine. If you want the brakes on, that's fine. But I'd prefer it to be deep sixed because I do think the legislative branch has just become almost irrelevant.
So explain to the audience what it would take to get a constitutional amendment.
Well, you need 2/3 of both houses, the upper, the Senate and House of Representatives to support it. And then you need 3/4 of the states to ratify it. And of course,
3/4. I thought it was also 2/3.
Yeah.
well, if the states initiate it, you need 2/3 of the states
that's
to
right.
be able
Yeah.
to send it to the House, to the federal government. But then it goes to the federal government, they ratify it, and then it still has to be ratified by 3/4 of the states.
That's right.
But in order to recommend it, yeah, it's 2/3.
So how many
But
states would that be? That would be
37, I believe.
37,
or
38.
38. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is that doable, you think?
I think, yeah, well, look, would it be very hard? Yes, but if the Democrats got behind it and if the Republicans, this is my whole point. If the Republicans aren't going to get rid of it anyway,
yeah.
Right?
Right.
Now, again, so everybody knows my vote would be get rid of it now. But if you're not going to get rid of it, then call the Democrats out and say, okay, we're not getting rid of it, but we want to make sure you don't either.
Yeah.
That's my whole point. Because if we don't get rid of it, we know what's coming down the pike. So
Sure.
it's the only other option.
Yeah.
Okay. It's my first option is to get rid of it, as Ken is also saying. But I've hit roadblocks with people that are like, no, because we're going to have a 51st and 52nd state with Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. They're going to pack the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And of course, we've talked about all those things, but I think we could put the emergency brakes on that a little bit by passing laws that make it very difficult for somebody to come in power and switch on that.
And
But
people,
it's still doable, though.
yeah, people ask, well, why? So what? They make Puerto Rico and D.C. a new state. So what? Well, the answer to that is more senators, right? More Democrat senators.
Well, I mean, that's what people are thinking. I think it would be unconstitutional. My reading of the Constitution is that Washington, D.C. I think it'd be unconstitutional for it to become a state. Okay. I read the Constitution that it is supposed to be, above the states. And the child cannot become the parent. The states are the parent of the federal government. Washington, D.C. has become, and it's also supposed to be a referee among the states.
Yeah.
A referee cannot become a player. I mean, you've got to have that ability to supposedly stay above the fray, even though it doesn't. And the states have almost become irrelevant. But I think that the founders would have, there was nowhere ever in any of their imaginations that the seat of government would become a state, period.
So did you guys, and I don't want to get off the subject here, but did you hear about in the last 3 days, I think, a judge was telling the Trump administration to take money away from their child program and put it into the food stamp program. He ordered that you move that money over there to pay for the food stamps. And
I think
guess
that got overturned, though.
Yeah, but guess who stopped it? Did you hear who stopped it in the Supreme Court? Jackson.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Even she thought that was crazy. So, yeah, I was shocked, but she's the one that put the kibosh on it. So, anyway, back to this subject again. So the next 60 days, a little more than 60 days, we've got a chance. We have a chance to make hay and do some positive things. What would the Congress have to do, in your guys' minds, to get back the confidence of the American people? Would it just be to codify some of President Trump's EOs? Would it be to codify the tariff EO? What do you think? What's going to get back
I'll
their
let these
positive
guys
vibes?
go first. I
Okay.
hogged up the first time, so go ahead.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Tell us, Paul. Paul's turn.
Thanks. Leroy don't want the ball. I don't know. I just think we got to. I don't know. I just keep watching Republicans fighting the MAGA program, and it just irritates the crap out of me. I don't know, Rand Paul. Anyway, it just upsets me that we finally got an honest to God leader in the White House, not a stumbling, bumbling, dementia-ridden idiot with a vice president that makes him look smart. And we finally got two people in the White House with some brains and some vision and a desire to make America great again. And we got Republicans in there screwing with them. And it's just, I mean, I can understand Democrats doing that. They're not very smart to begin with. But these people are supposed to be intelligent and working for the American people, and they're just not doing it. And I don't know. It's got my dander up a little bit.
I really think that the majority of Republicans they've come around since last January. Majority of them, but not all of them, not 100%. But I think a lot of them have come around. I mean, I have to say that I think Mike Johnson has done a pretty good job getting the big beautiful bill done, getting this thing finally settled. He did a good job rounding up the Republicans to get the vote in last night. There's some things they've done under the radar that I don't believe everybody, the American people, are aware of. But he certainly can do more to codify some of these EOs. Now, I don't look at the Senate the same way, and part of that's because I think Thune lets himself. He's strapped by the Senate rules, and he's too stubborn to change them. I.e. the cloture rules. So, just my opinion. I'll throw that out there. Go ahead, Ken.
Well, it was the question, what would it take for the Congress to do to
get back the confidence of the American people the next
people?
60 days. Yeah, to get back to we're running the government and we're doing a good job and pay attention and we want to get reelected in the midterms. Yeah.
First would be get back to normal order in adopting the budget bills.
Yeah, and they want to do that. They want to do that.
Two, they got to come up with a plan on how to reduce the growth of the national debt. I think I've said on this program before how the debt came to be, and it is both parties for the last 40 years. But to me, having served in a legislative body, this Arizona State Legislature, the Senate, I put a lot on. To me, the main responsibility of a legislative body is to decide how much resources to take from its citizens and where to spend it. And as you do that each year, if you spend more than the resources you have available, and you are growing a debt that the future generations are going to pay, I think that is the most unconscionable thing a legislative body can do. And I took it very seriously when I was president of the Arizona Senate. And my 4 years as a Senate president was with a Democrat governor. I did not allow her to spend more than we came in, and we reduced our debt during those 4 years. I ran for governor a few years after that and lost in a primary to Governor Ducey. And as I watched his administration during the first 4 years, the debt of Arizona, he claimed every year to have balanced budgets, but the debt of Arizona grew during that period of time, which is why I ran against him a second time in 2018.
Yeah.
And now I didn't succeed. He was tied into the establishment part of the party then. He had the McCain's behind him. He had people. And so I didn't prevail in those elections. But the reason I ran was primarily one of the debt of Arizona was growing at a time when our elected leaders were telling us that the budgets are balanced and we're not raising taxes. And that was a lie, and on and on and on. So financial responsibility of our elected leaders is very important to me, because what are we now? 38 trillion in national debt. And I am very concerned. Did you see what China just did with Venezuela? Venezuela just became a puppet state of China, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And financial irresponsibility will help decay this country from within even more than it already has. And that level of decay is already shocking to me.
So let me comment on that. I look at the Trump tariff plan. Okay, Trump has declared an economic emergency with the world. He's using some called out congressional call them laws, to do what he's doing, and some emergency powers that are in those laws. And he has a twofold plan. To number one, he wants to reduce the debt using some of the tariff money. I'd say that's probably a good thing. And he also wants to now everybody needs to understand
the tariffs, but the tariffs, Don, in their entirety may only bring in about 400 to 500 billion. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But the annual deficit
is
2 trillion.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
So
that's why
even,
that's why Congress needs to go to regular order. So right, so we can get get things in order. Yeah, so that's important too. I mean, I think he wants that too. But what I was going to say was, with respect to the Supreme Court. Now, do you think the Supreme Court is going to just look at this as a purely constitutional law versus Trump, or are they going to take in all of the other factors involved here and the other laws involved? You know, I mean, we don't know exactly what was presented to them a few days ago, but
I think the court is going to be very hesitant to rule the tariffs unconstitutional in retroactively and create this nightmare of the government having to give $400 or $500 billion back to somebody.
Yeah.
Because it was charged on businesses that import products. It was built into the cost when people bought them. If you could identify company by company which companies paid X amount of tariffs, those companies turned around and sold those products to millions of consumers. And I don't think they're not going to just
hard to unwind. It's hard to unwind.
Yeah, well, I think that you'd have to hope that the Supreme Court understands that fact, right? So
I hope so.
That has to be part of their consideration.
Don,
yeah,
that's why last time I said, if they were strictly interpreting the constitutionality of it, and this is why, look, I want to read what Clarence Thomas says, but I think if it's strictly as per the Constitution, it's unconstitutional. Period. I haven't seen, nobody has sent me any laws or any examples of any president or any Congress that's intended to delegate these kind of powers to the president. Period. Okay. Having said that, I agree with both of you guys that if you just rule it unconstitutional, there's going to be just horror going on. And that's why I said, whenever it was, a week or two ago, that the Supreme Court, in my estimation, is going to come out with a ruling saying these are unconstitutional, but we understand there's gray areas, and we're going to give you and the legislative branch 6 months to figure this out. And you got 6 months to figure it out. And there is precedence for that. There is precedence for that. Of the Supreme Court giving the other branches time to figure it out. But look, and Ken is exactly right. The greatest threat to us right now as a country is our debt. And it's why 10 years ago I worked with Nick Dronius and others on this Compact for America, a single issue calling of the states for a convention to recommend amendments. So it's never been done. And President Reagan was for it, of doing this. Scalia was for it. A single item convention, and it's not a constitutional convention. It's a convention of the states to recommend one amendment to the Constitution, and that's a balanced budget amendment. And so the problem is the people don't really understand the consequences, and people don't know history. And so, as Washington said, it's a shame in our form of government, people aren't going to see until they feel. And so nobody wants to be the sacrifice. So I kind of equate it to a big elephant that's got all these mosquitoes sucking blood out of the elephant. And we keep giving them shots of adrenaline and everything else. And every mosquito's like, hey, everybody else is doing it, and this little bit isn't going to help until one day the elephant just drops. Okay. And or you can compare it to a bodybuilder that wants to take growth hormones and they don't care about their life in 20 years. They want to be big, looking good with the muscles now, and I'm not worried about consequences down the pike. The problem is, you know, at some point, we're going to either fall over as the elephant. I mean, you just can't avoid it, or something's going to happen to that bodybuilders of people that I know who have been on growth hormones that get cancer and die early. I mean, it's a risk that you take. So I would agree with Ken on that. I think they need to do it, but there's no political will in DC to do it, and there's no demand from the people that it be done. Just the opposite. Everybody wants to see just the opposite. And look, I've traveled to many of the states to talk in front of their legislatures. I've talked to the governors, and we did get a lot of states to join on, but there's just not enough pain. It's kind of like Dan Bongino was saying, thing changed in New York City back in the 80s because it got so bad, people finally voted, somebody in office, Giuliani, to clean things up. The problem with this is it's going to get so bad, it's going to be terminal. I mean, how you gonna fix it? It's going to have to rewrite the whole financial system. So I agree with Ken, that's the most important thing, but how much hope do I have of them doing it? Absolutely right here. Zero. Okay? Not going to happen because the American people don't understand it, and the people in Congress, most of them don't understand it, and there's no political will to get it done. But what I'd like to see, if they were smart, okay, they would start recommending this constitutional amendment, or they would vote to get rid of the filibuster. But even if they don't do that, the next smartest thing they could do is work on passing tariff laws that could be ready to go when the Supreme Court deep sixes what Trump has done so far. And so you have these laws ready that pass muster, that if the president signs as a law, will basically codify and legalize constitutionally everything he's done so far. And I think they need to work on this healthcare issue that the Democrats bring up, because next year I think it's going to be the primary focus of them on Trump saying, hey, we tried to shut the government down for subsidies with Obamacare, and look how much more expensive it is because the Republicans, and they're going to take everything they created under Obamacare and blame the Republicans, and they're going to get away with it.
Oh, they're already doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're already doing
And
it.
well, and everybody's going to blame the Republicans for something that the Democrats created. And so we need some people to get in there, and I have zero hope of trying to tighten their belt, but I have some hope that the Republicans will recognize where their weak spots are in getting attacked in healthcare, and somebody going in there and starting to look and see what we can do. But that's what I'd like to see. But how much chance do I think that's going to happen? Yeah, maybe 2%. I just don't see these guys doing anything, to be honest.
Oh, Ken. Comments? Anything?
Hard to argue with Jeff.
I hate to spread so much hope today.
Oh, you can argue with him.
When we're finished with this, I've got something else I want to talk about.
You can argue with him, but you just might not win. No problem arguing with him. Okay, Ken, go ahead. What do you got, bud?
Well, in the last few days, there's been these screenshots and posts going on Facebook and social media saying conspiracy theory no more. And I think even our good friend Zach, who I was hoping would be on with us today, sent a screenshot of this Facebook post. Arizona just removed nearly 50,000 non-citizens from its voter rolls.
Oh my gosh.
After a lawsuit by America First Legal forced counties to finally enforce the law. Officials under Katie Hobbs and Adrian Fontes, the Secretary of State, had not been verifying citizenship or running required checks until now. they had to be sued into following the law. 50,000 illegal voters gone. I just want our listeners to know that's fake news.
Oh, okay.
Do not believe that.
Really? Okay.
Um,
So, yeah, I was saying 50,000 sounds like an awful lot of people.
well, what they're talking about is that group of voters called federal only voters who have sworn on their voter registration form that they are a citizen,
Right.
but they haven't produced a passport or a birth certificate or something to prove their citizenship. And Arizona has about 45 to 48,000 of those federal only voters. And yes, there was a lawsuit filed against the state of Arizona by a group called America First Legal, AFL. And it was trying to force county recorders to follow a state law that was passed in 2022 that said that they are authorized to use whatever federal databases or anything that they can get their hands on to see whether someone is a citizen. And but 50,000 illegal voters were not taken off of Arizona's rolls. There weren't 50. For example, I just was speaking to the county recorder from Yavapai County this morning about this stuff, and her staff has noticed this starting to pop up on Facebook again. It comes from a lawsuit filed back in 2024, and yes, they are in Yavapai County, for example. There's about 300 of these federal only voters. They have not they've not produced a document to the county recorder when they registered to vote to prove their citizenship, but they swore on their form that they are a citizen. Yavapai County was one of the first of the 15 counties in Arizona to take advantage of this law that the legislature passed in 2022. Now, that law's had lawsuits filed against it. There's some injunctions in the courts that have unfortunately been issued prohibiting county voter registration people, the recorders, from checking databases to prove that somebody is an illegal alien in the country. But what Yavapai County was doing was they were checking these new databases, one of them's called SAVE, to verify that there is some evidence, and it's usually a social security number, to prove that the people who haven't proven that they're a citizen but swore that they were when they registered to vote are probably in fact citizens. And so Yavapai County was one of the first of the 15 counties to start using these databases that this state law told them to start doing. And they just ran their 300 people through one of these federal databases to see if people have social security numbers and are citizens. And they found that about 80% are citizens. And what the county recorder in Yavapai told me was that, you know, if somebody moves here from California and all their stuff is in a box and it's being delivered and, you know, they register to vote, but they can't find box number 692 that's got their passport in it or got their birth certificate, they can't prove citizenship yet, so they register without it. They're a federal only voter, and then a few months later, when they find all the documents they need, they produce their proof of citizenship, and they move from the federal only list to the regular list, where you have proven your citizenship and you can vote not only in the federal races but in the state and local ones as well. So I just want people to know that this stuff
you
going
got to
around
be careful. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
Arizona did not remove 50,000 non-citizens from
Hey,
its voter rolls.
Ken, when you brought up proof of citizenship, and then we were talking about the tariff issues, it'd be, you know, in the Supreme Court coming down and saying they're all unconstitutional. That would be akin to, let's saying Obama, he's already been president for 8 years, but it came out right now that he really wasn't born in Hawaii.
In Hawaii,
right? Yeah. And then you try to go back and undo 8 years of what he did. It's impossible to do. And so I do hope that the Supreme Court is wise on that. But at the same time, if they do come out and say those tariffs were unconstitutional, if they come out and say they were constitutional, then I would petition, let's save money and just abolish the legislative branch and just let the judicial and the executive branches beat each other up and understand that we are no longer a republic as envisioned by the founders.
Yeah. Yeah. So comments, Paul.
Well, I think that's a little extreme, Jeff.
Paul,
are you arguing with Jeff?
That hurts. Coming from Paul, that hurts.
Well, I think I've got a bumper sticker on my garbage can, my big 96-gallon garbage thing, says the Constitution, don't rewrite it, reread it. And that's something that we need to send to our legislators is a copy of the Constitution. Here's the newest one from the National Constitution people. Anyway, it's just so darn frustrating that our rule makers don't know the rules, and it's really, or if they know the rules, they're skirting them, and they shouldn't be doing that either. So.
Well, I think it's a little it's a little of all three, right? Some of them are skirting them, some of them don't know them, and some of them do follow the rules. So
you remember how Rush Limbaugh used to teach by being absurd.
Mm-hmm.
So he took what we were doing and just took it to the nth degree.
Right.
And that's all I'm saying. Is I think I may, it's really a good idea actually to start to propose an amendment to abolish the legislative branch.
Mm-hmm.
And people would look at me like I'm crazy, but in effect, the lesson would be, hey, it's kind of like, okay, just a quick story. So my dad, and this is a story I told when people would come and say, Jeff, the states have never called for a convention of the states, and it's so dangerous for the states to do that and have a convention because it could be a runaway convention, all this type of stuff. And I'd say, look, we had probably 6 to 8 acres of grass growing up, and I'd have a push mower, and it would basically take me all week to mow the grass. And by the time the next Saturday would come around, guess what? I'd be mowing
start again.
Okay, so my dad bought us a riding lawnmower and said, look, kids, we have a ride. This is going to help you. But if you break this or do all this stuff, he got me so scared of going on that riding lawnmower. Guess what I was doing? I was still. And he came out and asked me, why are you still pushing the push lawnmower? And I said, Dad, because I don't want to break your big new gem of a thing. And he's like, use the tools I gave you. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to use the tools you gave me. Well, look, if they're not going to use the tools of the Constitution doing what they should do, take it away. And so I'm serious. I think this is a great idea. I think I'm going to start the amendment process to abolish the legislative branch because they are all such a bunch of pansies who do not understand the Constitution or their own power or who is supposed to be, the dog wagging the tail versus other way around. And I'm serious. What good have they done? And I can't think of very few things except for ratify judges to lower courts or higher courts. Have they ratified any treaties lately? Have they authorized any military action overseas? Have they passed a budget? Have they started to tighten down the budget like we know they need? Have they helped out with foreign affairs at all? Have they helped regulate what the president can do in sending National Guard units, They're worthless, worthless. And so I'm officially announcing today the repealing of the first branch of government in Article 1. And I'm going to push for an amendment to do that. And hopefully by being absurd, people will start coming around to understand how absurd we have become.
So if you repeal Article 1, include the lower courts from Article 3.
Yeah, that's right.
And repeal them too.
Right. Well,
because
yeah,
they created them.
Absolutely. And put all the burden on the Supreme Court. You and the executive branch want to rule, rule. You want cake, eat it. All of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not a bad idea.
Sorry.
You were an American jewel, Jeff.
Yeah.
So Ken, I'm going to need you on the stump with me. So
okay.
Yeah.
Paul will fly us to the different places.
Right. Paul can fly you around. Anytime you guys video anything, I'll put it on the show. Okay. That'd be my contribution.
So now I know what I'm going to talk about on next week's Heirs of the Republic meeting.
Yeah.
Just this. I'm going to have a petition.
Repeal Article 1.
Legislative branch. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, you and Paul bring up a good point, and so does Ken, that when the public looks at the Constitution and you talk Article 1, Article 2, Article 2, Article 3, does that even register with 3/4 of the people, right? Probably not.
So with my group, yes, because we educate each other every month.
Yeah.
You
know? And I go back to that interview I was telling you about that Ken did Tuesday with this gentleman he was actually born in Italy, but he was in France, right, Ken?
Grew up in France, was in the French Navy when World War II broke out.
But during that interview, Ken reveals how great his civics and historical knowledge is in that interview, because I mean, you were right on top of so many things off the top of your head, Ken, that it was really good, and it was a good civics lesson for a lot of people. You know, that
good. Well, I can't wait to
don't know anything about World War II, right?
I thought I was going to be with the wife watching movies tonight. I guess I'm going to have to.
No, you got to listen to what is it? It's KCYA Prescott, right?
KYCA.
KYCA.
Yavapai County, Arizona. KYCA.
KYCA, yeah. And they have a stream. Yeah, they have a stream on the internet. Yeah, but I'll send the link and because it's really worth listening to, and especially the story itself is worth listening to. But it's fascinating the way Ken interviews and helps him tell the story, because
this guy was awarded just a few months ago by the French government the equivalent of our Congressional Medal of Honor.
Yeah,
that is so great.
He received it's called the Légion d'honneur.
Wow.
And he cried on air when he talked about his friends that kept his name out when they got caught by the Germans and were interrogated. They kept his name out of it, and that's why he's alive today.
And he was literally in tears on the air.
Yeah, he was
saying that he was provided the life that he has enjoyed because of friends who would not rat him out and others when they were captured by the Gestapo or the SS or whoever, and tortured to death. And it was very moving.
Unbelievable. And he lives up in Prescott, Ken?
Lives in Prescott. He's only, he says, 102 years old. He'll be 103 next March the 2nd. His grandson was in the studio with me. He is also a veteran. And did a tour of duty in Iraq, I think he said.
Right.
And then his great granddaughter was in the interview in the studio with us, and she's the student representative on the Prescott School Board. Has a non-voting student representative, and she's a senior at Prescott High School. So, just a fascinating individual. And he told stories about he started out switching the placards on the railroad signs to confuse the Germans who were using the railroads to conquer Europe and take over his beloved France. And so then they caught him doing that, and they started gluing the signs so that he could not switch them back and forth. So then he started putting sand in the wheels, in the oil, to mess up the train. Anyway, it was a
I mean, that
fascinating-
is invaluable.
Yeah, it really is.
They had a radio transmitter. They had a radio transmitter that they kept hidden in a certain bench in the church. And when they needed to broadcast intelligence to the British, they would, in the middle of the night, go and get that radio transmitter and go out into the woods and transmit. But they could only transmit for 3 minutes at a time, because if they transmitted longer than that, the Germans would triangulate where they were and capture them. And it was fascinating. But yeah, he was awarded the equivalent of the U.S. Congressional Medal of Honor by the French government just a few months ago, the Légion d'honneur.
So we know what Ken did on Veterans Day. He did this wonderful interview. Paul told me that he had lunch with a Marine friend, right, Paul?
And he paid for it.
Yeah, and he paid for it. Patty and I went to Outback, and Outback gave me a free dinner.
Wow.
And I had a steak.
Big.
Yeah, the whole dinner. Yeah, the fixings and everything, plus dessert. And for all veterans, you should have seen the line outside trying to get into Outback. So we just sat at the bar because there's no way you're going to get a table. So how about you, Jeff? What did you do on Veterans Day? Anything special?
I went to a special meeting that a realty group has down here at the one of the lodges to honor veterans, and it was wonderful. I spoke at it a year ago, and they had it this year. They had a Air Force Lieutenant Colonel who flew C-130s and then flew for Lockheed Martin as an experimental pilot for 20 years after he retired. And to see the veterans there and the the patriotism and the people, just trying to honor those who have served. It's still alive and well. I would like to see more people there, but there are activities. Going
Yeah, we're
on.
going to have a big program tomorrow at our church, and our church holds our area, our inside our auditorium holds about 700 people. And it's called Hope for America, Saluting Our Veterans. And it's going to be a big program with music and saluting each of the services. And so it's going to be nice. We're going to go to that tomorrow and to wrap up the week. And I've had my flag out all week long and left my lights on out front. So
great.
Yeah, it's an important week, and people need to, they need to recognize veterans and thank them, and the majority, I'd say, we have a lot of veterans in the villages, and our American Legion Post 347 is the largest American Legion in the country.
Wow.
So we have a lot of veterans here, and it's we have a veterans park in one of the town squares, and we have the Eisenhower Center, which is a big recreation center, and it's got everybody that's moved to the villages has donated something of their military service to this Eisenhower Center. So there's pictures and patches and all kinds of stuff like that. It's just a beautiful place to see. They got all the uniforms displayed on figures, and it's all decorated in red, white, and blue. So it's a pretty neat place that people like to go to. So anyway, we're coming up on the end of the show here, guys. So I have 628. You guys must be 428, right?
428. Yep.
And so let me take a survey. Who's going to be available on November 20th?
I think so.
Everybody okay? Good.
Yeah,
Paul?
You're on the calendar.
Right. Okay. November 26th, we won't have a show because 27th, because that is Thanksgiving. And we'll wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving next week. And So let's get together next week.
Don,
Yeah.
I may or may not be available next week. I've got to take my wife to the hospital for some tests.
Okay, well that's fine. If you can make
So,
it,
yeah.
we'd love to have you. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm
and
just looking at
we'll keep praying for her too.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And
If you're not here, Paul and I might win an argument against you.
Listen, I defer to your judgment any day, both of you. So.
Okay, guys. Thanks everybody for joining us.
All
This
right.
is 4 Men in America. We will see you all next week, and God bless America. Thanks, guys. Good job.
Yay.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. Kirk bounces one up the middle. Blitz to the back. Over to first to beat the champ. You gotta knock him out. The Dodgers stand tall and win back-to-back titles. Clayton Kershaw's Major League career ends as he watches his team win a Game 7 epic. It didn't look like they had any shot in this one until the very end, when an unsung hero, a most unlikely hero, Miguel Rojas, tied the game with a home run. With all the focus on the man that was on deck, Shohei Ohtani, it was Rojas who delivered the shock. And then it was Will Smith who delivered the game-winning home run in the top of the 11th inning. And Yoshinobu Yamamoto, legendary stuff, wins 3 games in this World Series. A complete game in Game 2. His team faces elimination in Game 6. And then, like Randy Johnson, like Grover Cleveland Alexander, like some of the all-time greats, Yoshinobu Yamamoto finishes off Game 7.
Unbelievable. That's just the only word I can say. Unbelievable. People who have pitched, they will appreciate that more than anybody else.
If you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better.